Hello everyone again. Okay, what I want to do right now is run through the calculation of loan payments. It's probably one of the more common calculations I'm asked to do, along with calculating the loan balance after a given period, and or the amount of interest paid over the same period. So let's work through this. I'm going to look at a $500,000 loan, which is a 30-year fixed loan. So there will be 360 payments. And then next, the interest rate is currently close to 6.9%. So let's calculate the payment for that loan. So what you do is go to Formulas, then Finance, and scroll down to Payment, specifically PMT, which is located right there. And then this input screen appears, and we'll fill in the blanks. The first one is the rate on the loan. Well, I'll click there, and it's 6.9, but it's made monthly payments, so that interest rate needs to be divided by 12. The next input is the number of periods, and we know it will be 360. Next, the present value. What is the present value? That's simply the original balance of the loan. That's your $500,000. We've entered all the necessary inputs. We won't use the two on the bottom. So all I have to do is click on OK, and there is your loan payment. When you're viewing an Excel spreadsheet and using the payment formula, the payments always appear as a negative number. The way to think about it is this. During any given term, when I receive money, that's a positive number. When I'm paying money out, it's a negative. That's the way this works. Now, an interesting calculation to do is the total payments on this loan if it goes the full term. Well, let's do that. So in this blank, we're going to make 360 payments, and then we're going to multiply that by $3,293. There you have it, $1,185,480 and some change. You borrowed $500,000 and you're paying back over $1 million. That's an eye-opener. Next, this is probably just as much of an eye-opener. The total interest paid if it goes to full term. It sounds like it might be difficult, but that's not difficult to calculate. So what we do is take the total of all the payments, $1,185,000, and then subtract the balance of the loan from that. This leaves the interest paid during the full term of the loan, $685,480.24. Wow. Here are some interesting questions. First of all, what was the interest paid during year one? Well, again, it may sound difficult, but it's not. So what was the beginning balance? $500,000 and then the ending balance. When calculating the ending balance, we use the present value formula. So let's do that. Go up to Formulas, Financial, and then the PV. And we have the same basic inputs to deal with. So the rate is 6.9%, but again, it needs to be divided by 12. Number of periods? Well, it's 360. However, keep in mind that this is at the end of the year, so we've made 12 payments, which I need to subtract 12. And then finally, what is the payment? Well, that's here. So, what is the balance of the loan at the end of the first year? $494,000 and some change. Let me skip down. We'll go to this one first. What was the principal pay down? Well, the principal pay down is the difference between the beginning balance and the ending balance. That was $5,197. And what was the total of the payments made during that first year? Well, we're going to take our payment and multiply it by 12. Therefore, $39,000 was disbursed, and we paid down the principal by $5,177. So, how much interest did we pay in that first year? We know that the total of the payments is $39,000, and the principal paid down is $5,177. The balance must be the interest. $34,338 is the interest paid the first year. Now, I wanted you to see these kinds of calculations, and I'm fully aware of some online programs that can calculate loan balances. They provide a nice amortization table, and the new ones also suggest ways to save money on the loans. But I think for those of you who want to know how to calculate this on your own, you can use Excel and calculate it. All right, I think that's really enough for the calculations right now. Let's move on to the final section, the course wrap-up. In that section, I'll talk a little bit about everything else that you might want to consider. All right, let's move on.